Let him in. Do it. Stop sharing your screen now, CJ.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Opportunity Zone. I'm on location today, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Chris Lavin. Chris, how you doing, man?
Howdy, howdy. I'm blessed and highly favored, my friend.
Chris, I think the image looks better when you're standing there by yourself. I think I'm going to have to be on location and out in the field more often.
Dude, since you left, they've had to readjust all the lights. Look at these globes bouncing off my head.
You got 100% of the spotlight now, man. Hey, so, so,
I need to wear a
so,
baseball cap.
So this is the show, ladies and gentlemen, where we don't just talk about Chris's head. I promise we cover all of the stuff inside of his head and we get into what's happening in real estate news. So there is a lot happening right now. You've got Mr. Trump floating the idea of taking the two largest lending institutions in the country out of conservatorship and into private hands. So literally we could see Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac getting out into the public market very, very soon. We've got interest rates that are on the cusp of possible change. We'll talk about that a little bit here. We're also going to talk about the American dream or the lack thereof, what it's meaning, why tenants are staying longer in rentals right now, and what it can mean to you financially if you cash in on this trend that's happening right now. So all that and more inside of today's Opportunity Zone. Chris, I don't have a wonderful Bible story today, but could I ask you to give a blessing to everybody that's here?
Absolutely. We take a quick moment. Heavenly Father, first and foremost, as always, I'd like to acknowledge who you are in my life and the miracles that you bring to me on a daily basis. I've made the decision that everything is a miracle and my focus is on you. I ask that you bless us as we share some of the knowledge that we've gained, sometimes in the school of hard knocks, so that the people that we're sharing it with don't have to suffer the downsides that we did in order to get the rewards that we have. I ask that you bless these conversations and make it happen. Amen.
Amen. All right, let's get right into it. So, first, heavy hitting news. This started a conversation about 3 months ago about the potential that during this administration, they might take Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac into private hands, out of government control. And it just became very, very real. End of last week, Mr. Trump himself sent out a message on his platform, Truth Social, saying that he wants to do it. He wants to explore it right now, and his team is basically handling it. Bill Pulte, over at head of financing for this, in charge of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, he confirmed it. He's saying, "Yeah, we're exploring this right now." Chris, as someone who literally you're getting quotes from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac right now on two, maybe three different properties, how do you feel about this? What direction do you think this is going to fall for everyone?
Um, Let me talk about the reality of and how it applies to our lives and our business today so that you can draw your own conclusions. And what I mean by that is this. The government, for all intent and purposes right now, Fannie and Freddie are just another government agency. And we all know how efficient the government is, right? So with that being said, we don't even, at this point, we don't even deal with Fannie anymore, right? If we need to get what's called a waiver, that means outside of the exception of normalcy for either a rate reduction, time extension, a waiver for insurance, or some other things. Right now, it takes 6 months to make that happen with Fannie. It's absolutely insane. We can't not close a deal for 6 months. We can't go into contract and then make the seller wait 6 months while we secure our financing. In contrast, in December of 2023, we were able to get waivers in 7 to 10 days, and we were able to get significant waivers on a property that we acquired back at that point. Secondarily, right now, Fannie and Freddie, for all intent and purposes, are the same exact deal on two different colors, two different shades of paper. You're getting the same exact thing. There's zero competitiveness in the market. I believe for us that competitiveness, that if you offer competition in the market, they're going to want to drive or to feed their stockholders, be responsible corporations to their stockholders. So they're going to become more competitive. You're going to see more products come out. You're going to see more interesting type lending. Concern about that is that was what got them in trouble to begin with and put them into conservatorship. So as long, Pulte already, he cleaned house, man. He went in there and said, you're not to work, you're fired. And so hopefully they restructure the organization from the ground up. And then we have two competitors in the marketplace supplying loans to guys like us trying to buy property, trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and just to put this in perspective for everyone, this is about 70% of the loans that are being issued out there, apartment buildings, single family houses. You might not
Correct.
go to your bank and ask for a Fannie Mae loan. In fact, you never will on a residential. However, your bank is more than likely 3/4 of the time selling that loan that they write you over to Fannie or Freddie, Fannie most of the time. So even it's touching everyday Americans across the board. You might never ever see the name Fannie Mae on paper, but they're supplying 70% of the money. Just your bank continues to service the loan. They collect the payment for the next 30 years on behalf of Fannie.
I'd like to make one more point. And that is if Freddie and Fannie are competitive, they'll start driving mortgage rates down. While mortgage rates there's a correlation between the Fed rate and mortgage rates, there's still a gap there, right? 2.5%, 3% right now between the Fed rate and Fannie and Freddie and their rates, but their rates are pretty much the same. So this 3%, almost twice the cost, right? Because it's around 4% for the Fed rate. So you'll start seeing them getting slimmer with their profits, therefore driving mortgage rates down, even if the Fed rate doesn't come down.
Yeah, and Chris, I'm glad you talked about that. So there is a gap between what they're borrowing money at essentially and what they're charging you as the borrower. You
Correct.
actually got some waivers because of your track record. You got waivers down to, what was it, 1.1?
1.1. So our gap is now 1.1%. So let me speak about that for a second. So this is not going to affect us. When I say us, HomeInvest, because of our tier 1 status as borrowers, right? As you just noted, we're borrowing at 1.1% gap. We get, our interest rates are in the fives to mid fives. On large loans. You don't see that every day. You don't see that in the residential space. You don't see that even in the multifamily space. But because of our history and our performance record, the banks or the lenders who use Fannie and Freddie, called Greystone at this point, they're just killing to give us money because we're solid operators in an unsteady market.
Cool. So in conclusion, it's probably going to happen. At least the people that are pulling the strings right now for it, it's probably going to happen that Fannie and Freddie will end up going public sometime in the near future. And we see it as a good thing. We see it as a good move. Yes, there's risks. Yes, there could be things that pop up because of it. But overall, for us as investors in this marketplace, free market competition will probably bode the best for us. Oh,
Correct.
cool. Chris, I'm going to change gears on us. We have a renter nation. It's been talked about now for the last 4 or 5 years. It's just becoming more and more evident in everything. All the data that you and I aggregate, we look at migration, we look at different age groups coming in, but we have renters basically staying all the way up through retirement now. What are your thoughts on this?
All right. This is going to sound horrible, but I'm going to be straight. Think about this for a minute. We now have boomers staying longer in rental or transitioning from ownership to rental. You know why? Because it's cheaper. And as a result, they're staying, if it's cheaper to be in a rental, it's just easier for them on their lifestyle. Think about it. They can travel now. They don't have to worry about the grass getting cut. They don't have to worry about all of the things that come with home ownership. For some of those people, I'm thinking it's a great thing. Some people are saying, oh my God, it's terrible. Grandma and grandpa can't afford a house. Well, grandma and grandpa are, 70 and 80 years old. They don't want to be pushing a lawnmower under the sink fixing something. Now they live in an apartment. If it's a well-maintained and well-ran apartment like we do, then all of those needs are taken care of. So that's a great thing. Now let's talk about the other side of the spectrum, the Gen Zers, the young bucks that are coming, out of college and all that. For them, the disparity between owning a house and renting is significant. So almost twice in some parts of this country, it almost costs you twice as much to buy a house than it does to rent. As a result, people are staying in rentals longer. All of these things are amazing news for us as real estate investors because That means that there's more continuous demand on the available inventory. And guess what? If you look across the country, the number of new starts is not there. And that's driven by the feds who are not lowering the rates, giving builders access to more money. So as a result, more demand, same inventory, rents go up. Rents go up, profits go up.
Yesterday, I met my first 30-year tenants. They literally lived in the same unit for 30 years. And I've seen it before. We've had tenants that have stayed 7, 8, 9 years, but this was a 30-year tenant. And so I asked him, I was so curious, like, why on earth would this tenant stay there that long? And I asked him point blank, I said, hey, what is it about? Like, why did you want to stay in this apartment for 30 years? He said, are you kidding me, man? They take care of everything. You know, the grass, the snow removal in the winter. They take care of the heat, the furnace. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. And that was just his mindset, like 30 years. He could have paid off a house by now, making that same monthly payment for 30 years. But instead, he's happy to stay in his rental, him and his wife. Chris, I'll have to show you pictures of this, but he literally has not even had the place repainted in 30 years. Just
Oh my gosh.
yeah. The walls
my
are yellow.
God.
He's not a smoker, but like that was that. We
Oh
didn't buy that.
no.
We're not buying that building. But anyways, it was interesting to see that case study. And
Yeah.
something you said, Chris, it caught my eye, and you talked about the cost difference. And this right
Yeah.
here this is probably the most important thing I'll say today, guys. So write this point down. If you're thinking of getting into multifamily, you have to look at and understand this graph. The gray line represents the average cost to rent right now. And you can see here on average, it's about $1,827 to rent. The blue line up here, this represents the cost to own. So if someone went and bought an equivalent size single family, how much is it going to cost them? Their mortgage, their taxes, their insurance. It's about $3,000 per month. It's not quite double, but it's getting up there. And so this gap, the bigger it is, the better it is to be a landlord. Plain and simple economics. The last time that this happened like this was 2004, 2005. We had a whole bunch of like opportune time. It's been pretty kind of in the middle all the way for the last decade or so. And then now, the last 3 years, this gap keeps getting bigger. Okay, I'm going to change gears on this again, Chris. We have Pete Hegeseth, who said something fairly controversial. He was talking about holding a monthly prayer service, and he kicked off the very first one at the Pentagon, and he took a lot of flack for it. And some of the reporters start basically asking him some tough questions, and I want everyone just to hear his reply on this.
The question is, I've gotten some criticism for hosting a Christian prayer service at the Pentagon yesterday. We said it very publicly. We said it very proudly. Appealing to heaven, to God, is a long-standing tradition in our military. I'm very proud that we're starting a monthly voluntary service at the Pentagon. George Washington was on bended knee with the troops, praying for God's providence and protection in that moment. Chaplains and ministers and Christians and people of faith across generations have prayed because of the business that we're in. I mean, the business of the 82nd Airborne, and you watch that 911 button for the country, is a dangerous one on behalf of all of us. And we appeal to God.
George Washington was on bended knee
With
while
the
talking.
troops.
What are your thoughts?
And
reactions,
so
Chris?
listen, there's some things that I'm opinionated about. There's some things I'm highly opinionated about, and there's some things that I'm passionate about. This is the top for me. Our nation was formed one nation under God. One nation under God. So I'm sorry if this offends you. This is what our forefathers want. They wanted us to seek higher guidance, spiritual guidance, as we made decisions for the best of everybody involved. If this offends you and you don't want to be part of the culture, one nation under God, if you don't want to be part of that, then I suggest you use the exit door. It's called Mexico. There's a wall there. The doors swing both ways. Don't let the door hit you with the good Lord split you. See ya, right? We're going to seek spiritual guidance to guide our country. What's wrong with that? Like, anybody that's against that is just crazy. I'm sorry. But don't ask me. I have no opinion on the matter.
No, no. Chris, as you started talking about your levels of opinionation on topics, I'm like, what? Really? There's a very Lydia says
Yeah, I'm pretty
amen.
passionate about everything. Yep.
Lydia says amen, and appreciate that, Lydia. Yeah, this is we have freedom of religion, and ultimately anyone should be able to stump up and do their prayer service however they want. Like it's freedom of religion for a reason. Oh,
Yes.
go for it, Pete. All right, next we need to talk a little bit about there's an upcoming Fed meeting. They're going to be talking about interest rates in June, so just around the corner here. And of course, my article, where'd it go? There it is. Okay, the Federal Reserve is meeting to talk about interest rates again. Betting markets are doing what betting markets do. They're speculating what's going to happen, but there's some commentary in here that basically gives some clues of what's going to happen in June. Chris, what's happening with interest rates the rest of this year? Let's just talk about that.
Okay, this is something I'm just a little excited about. All right. And I know it sounds insane by what I'm going to say next sounds insane, but follow me for a second. Every indication is that the Fed is not going to cut rates in June. Every indication is that there's going to be 2 cuts this year, but they're not happening in June and not likely to happen until September. Okay, why am I excited about this? And why does it sound so insane for me to say that? Because, believe it or not, these rates, like I talked about before, don't affect us. When I say us, I mean Home Invest Group specifically, in as much as it affects the general populace, because we are at that tier 1 borrowing rate. You know, we got 1.1% spreads between the Fed and what we're paying. So we're not as affected as other people. Would it be better if there was 0%? Yeah, don't get me wrong. But we underwrite our deals correctly. We pick the correct deals so that they cash flow. Again, why am I excited about this? Because we have a deal right now in Green Bay that, like, if you don't jump on this deal, you're going to miss out. Let me explain why. Because if, as the meeting happens in June and nothing's going to happen until September, with only 3 months left, September, October, November, December, for purchasing in 2025, you're going to be stuck like Chuck, because once you get there, all the prices of multifamily are going to go through the roof, because we're going to get the big, beautiful bill passed. That's going to be retroactive till January 1st. And then we're going to have rate cuts by what, a half a point, 1 point. It's not significant enough to make or break a deal if you underwrite it correctly. So we're going to have all of a sudden this demand on multifamily to acquire that accelerated depreciation and bonus depreciation from the big, beautiful bill that's retroactive to January 1st. And there's going to be not enough properties to go around. Prices are going to soar. So you need to come and jump on the deal today. If you don't, you're missing out. Grab a good deal from a good operator, even if it's not us. Today, you can't wait. September's right around the corner. We're knocking on June right now. June, July, August, bam, September. And then what? You're going to be like, oh man, I should have. Instead, if you don't take advantage of a deal like Green Bay, you're going to be writing checks to the IRS instead of getting a check like this. My refund check from 2023, $53,000. I haven't filed my 2024 taxes yet. I filed an extension, 53 grand back from the IRS in a year when I made more money than in the previous 3. So take advantage of these deals, jump on board. Hesitation, you're going to get so hurt. When I say hurt, I mean you're going to be paying taxes that you shouldn't pay or don't need to be paying if you act correctly and smartly. Whew. Sorry.
So that's a mouthful, and there's a lot of passion. And Lydia, I see your comment on explaining what that syndication deal is, and I will do that. Let me do this. I want to add a little bit of color to this. What Chris is talking about right now on the big, beautiful bill is that there's going to be massive tax savings. We expect that it will pass. It passed the Senate once before, but they amended some things at the House. So now they've got to get those amendments approved. Yes, it's going to be in the news. It's going to be contentious, but one way or another, we see it going through. And from a historical perspective, when they do pass tax measures like this, they usually post-date them to January 1st. That means retroactive. Chris and I are not financial planners. We're not your CPA. We can't give you legal advice or tax advice or financial advice. But as fellow investors, Chris and I are putting our own money into multifamily right now because we know what's going to happen. And I want to show you guys where we are today and where we were about 15 years back. 2009 They call it the Great Recession. 2009, you guys remember, the world was on fire. Multifamily dropped to 31% below its peak. You can see the big down right there. Today, we're about 27% below the peak for multifamily. We've already come up off bottom. Notice this, right down at the very bottom of that, we've already started to recover. And so when you add the jet fuel of this tax bill coming into it, multifamily is poised to grow really fast. Last time that this whole thing, the whole market cycled, multifamily was down for about a year and it bounced back up. Right now, we've already hit bottom. We've already started to come back up and we think it's going to race back up pretty fast. So now to Lydia's question, what about the multifamily deal? What about the syndication? Let me talk about that for a second. I will share screen on it so you can see it. This is the building. You can see the aerial flying in. It's literally right on the Fox River. It's been in beautiful Green Bay, Wisconsin, which was the #1 ranked best place to live in America. 2023, it made it. It's been on the top 10 list for nearly a decade, continuously gets it. When we're looking for a market to go into, we're looking for a few things. And #1, I want landlord friendly. Now, I know you might say, well, hold on, is Green Bay landlord friendly? Yeah, it is. It's one of the most in the country. Did you know that if you have a squatter move onto your property in Green Bay, you don't have to evict them? You call the sheriff. They remove the person same day. Wisconsin is fantastic for landlords, 100% fantastic. We've owned over 500 properties in the state of Wisconsin. It's fantastic. The second thing you look for is what about jobs? What about income? What about people moving into it? If you've got good jobs and good people moving in, you've got a solid foundation for growth on an asset. I'm going to point you to a data point that is very important. Green Bay scored #2 in the country for high income earners moving to the area. #2 in the whole country. This is behind only one city in the state of Florida. You wouldn't expect to see Green Bay on this list, but they are, because you've got a lot of people moving into it and you've got a lot of high paid people moving in there right now. This particular asset is full of surgeons. It's got a lot of folks in the medical, but there's 16 surgeons living in it right now, at least according to the rent roll when we were on site. It's got 2 pilots. It's had professional athletes living on site at the property. Like, it's stacked. It's got really, really good Class A tenants inside this building. If you're looking for potential investment, numerically, this one's paying out between 18 and up to 22% internal rate of return. In plain English, that's really, really good. That means put in 100 grand and potentially get up to 200 grand back at the end of the term, which is around 5 years. If you're putting in larger dollar amounts, $1 million plus, there's even better economics. There's enhanced economics, bigger splits, bigger preferred return, bigger everything with bigger investments. This one here, we're a little over halfway subscribed on it. So if you're interested in the deal, this is the one to take a peek at. So we've got it available for you. Look for the link that you see in the chat to book a 15-minute phone call with us. If you're not seeing that link, then just type the word call, C-A-L-L, on social media, and our team will private message you over the link. Chris, did I miss anything? You talked about the big, beautiful bill, but I'm talking about the big, beautiful property.
Yeah, big, beautiful property. One thing that you didn't mention is this property is 100% full, which means it was not properly managed. All property should be around 97%, 95 to 90%, 95 to 97% full or occupied. So that means
Chris,
that those.
Sorry, you're probably going to say this, but why? Because to the layman, the average person, they're going to say, well, don't you want 100%?
Yeah, you want 100% full if you know you're charging the maximum rate of the market. But generally, an indication that you're not charging enough is that your property is full with a waiting list, like this one is. So we need to be raising the rates to just get to the point where people start saying, that's a lot of money, and that's when you know you're at the right spot. So easily, on the first turns on this, we're going to probably raise rent 7 to 10%. So that means that there's going to be an instant 10% growth in the property value of this property. Why is that? Because commercial real estate, like multifamily residential, is based on the net operating income. You get the net operating income by taking your total rents collected, subtracting your fixed expenses, and now you have your net operating income. Once that increases, that increases the value of your property. So if we increase the net operating income by 10%, by raising the rents 10%, and not change, like our expenses are not going to change, they're fixed expenses. So we raise that 10%. We now raise the value of the property 10%. So we're buying this property at 15.8 million. Guess what? Raise the rents 10%. It is now worth 15.8 plus 1.58 million. So in the first year, we're going to raise the property that kind of value. It's insane. It's insane. It's a great property. Plus, look at it. It's amazing to look at. Not quite as good looking as me, but amazing to look at. Yeah, I know she took me off the screen real quick.
I just didn't want them to see how tall and good looking you really are, Chris.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful property, and that's why we've had like the majority of the folks that have already jumped on it, they're repeat investors with us. It happens every time we put it out. Our repeat investors jump on it, and then we open it up to the general public. And so we're doing that now. You got to be an accredited investor to invest into it. We don't make that rule. It's an SEC rule for this type of investment. So that means that your household income is 300K or more per year, or your individual, if you're not married, individual 200K or more per year, or you've got $1 million in net worth outside of your personal house. So a lot of people, they qualify just based on net worth. Look at your assets that you have. If you've got $1 million net worth, then you would qualify as an accredited investor. There's no special test or certification or anything like that. It's literally just a checkmark box that you have to self-identify as accredited. So that's the deal. Go ahead, Chris.
Can I sound the alarm bell one more time? Let me sound the alarm bell one more time. Do not wait, right? So there are a lot of people who are going to actually wait for the big, beautiful bill to pass, and then they're going to start flooding the market buying these properties up. And here's what's happening. And this is insane. At least it's insane to me. But people with deep pockets and deep funds, they're actually buying these properties. They're going to start buying them up at a negative cash flow, an effective negative cash flow. So they're going to have to be putting money in right from the very beginning to make the property stay afloat. Why would they do that? Because if you buy a property and like say for $20 million, and I'm just using round numbers, even if you leverage it, you get $10 million worth of tax break. You plan on keeping that property for 5 years. And let's say you put $750,000 in that property over the course of 5 years. That's still a lot less than that $10 million tax break you got on your income today. So it nets your tax break to $7 million. But on the books in accounting, if you've got that kind of money, it just makes good sense. It doesn't make good sense for common Joe like you and me, because we don't have, $100 million that we're playing with. So these guys are going to be buying up these properties, anything that's halfway decent, even if it's cash flowing at a minus 10% rate, they're going to buy this stuff up in order to get those big tax breaks from the big, beautiful bill. So as this happens, September, prices are going to go through the roof. You got to act. If you want it different tomorrow, you got to do something different today. So please, I'm begging you, if you're considering investing, jump on board now before it's too late.
Chris, you got a question here, and they got a couple questions. So I'm going to jump on the first one. Let's first talk about the length of time the big beautiful bill will make this tax thing enact. Is it a permanent change? Is it a time-sensitive thing? Like once it comes into play, like how long is it supposed to be for?
Well, so here's a most important factor, and it's going to be 100% while the bill is, right? So the important time factor is the people coming into the market and saturating the market, and supply and demand driving the prices of properties up, making them unaffordable if you need them to cash flow, right? And all of our properties, we have to cash flow. And I saw that Sue answered a question to somebody else. We pay dividends in the first quarter of ownership. So if a property can't support that, we can't buy it, right? So that's one of our buy box stipulations, is we have to be able to go in there, make a property work, and pay out dividends. And even though we don't call them dividends, we pay out the dividends in the first full quarter of ownership. So that limits the number of properties we can buy, right? Because we want to support and honor our investors. But these other people that don't care about that are strictly looking for tax breaks are just going to come in and buy up everything in the market. So while the big beautiful bill is going to stay permanent, we've got a very small window really to take advantage of those great deals. What's going to happen after the market gets totally inundated and the supply is completely depleted and the demand is still there, we're going to have to start going after deals. We're going to have to make significant investments in order to make them cash flow. And that creates a different financial model altogether. It's not our business. It's not our business model today. we just keep finding those good deal after good deal after good deal with the right circumstances on the blacklist that we talk about to make that happen. So jump on board.
Cool. We got one here from iPhone. iPhone's saying, "Hey, I thought you're supposed to look for the diamond in the rough. This property is beautiful. But I want the diamond in the rough to make a bigger impact in NOI." And
Oh.
Chris is already jumping on this one. So let's let Chris answer that one, why this one might be that one.
All right. So diamond in the rough can mean a lot of things. So this specific property is being managed absentee. Why? That's why it's 100%. Problem number one, so we can go in there and manage it and make it better. Yes, could we have a significant impact if we go buy a property and have it to renovate every unit? Yeah, you get a lot more money out of that, but there's a longer time between when you acquire the property and when you can start paying your investors. Like I said in my previous rant, that one of our buybacks stipulations is we have to be able to pay the 6% in the first quarter. Secondarily, this is an ideal property because it's a situation where mom is really sick. Mom and son are partners. She doesn't want to stick him with dealing with the family situation afterwards. So they need to sell the property before mom passes so that she can distribute the cash from the sale to the family. So not only are we getting a great deal for our investors, we're actually doing something for this family that most people normally can't do because they're really crunching us on time to make this sell because we want to make sure it happens before mom passes. And so that way she can see her wishes come true. So this is a deal that we're actually paying less than what the guy bought it for 3 years ago. So it's a great situation. Yeah. So I strongly recommend you jumping on board on this deal. It is a diamond in the rough, different kind of diamond, different kind of rough.
Beautiful, beautiful. You got JW saying, "Set me up. My wife and I are coming to manage it." JW,
We will.
awesome.
You've got the first penthouse, JW. We just ordered a tent. We're gonna set it up right up there and get you set up, man.
Beautiful, beautiful. Chris, that's everything we got for Opportunity Zone today. Any parting words you want to say before we close out?
No, listen, man, I'm just going to harp on this one more time. I believe that it's God's will for us to be happy, joyous, and free. I don't believe it's God's will for us to live under the constraints of financial fear and stresses. He wants us to be bountiful. So please, if you're in a situation where you want a more bountiful tomorrow, you've got to make a decision to do something different today so you end up with a different tomorrow. Please, please pray about it, seek spiritual counsel, and make that decision to move forward with something different in your life if you want a different tomorrow. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thanks everybody for coming today. We'll see you guys next week on the Opportunity Zone. Bye, guys.
God bless. See y'all.